not fair if you have information about Michael and you've watched us for this past 545 days and you haven't said a damn word. And we have to wait and wait and wait and still take care of our family and our lives.
Hey guys, welcome back to True Crime with Shannon, where I cover missing persons, unsolved cases, crime news, and more. All right, so I got a short intro now to the channel. I'm not as keen on it, but I want to do a shorter one. It's been in the works, but I haven't gotten one that I'm as impressed with, I guess that would be the word. So, but let me know what you guys think. I'm trying to keep the intro between 10 and 15 seconds, and that's kind of limiting. So, let me know what you think, and I might leave it for now, and then have some play time with it later. But all right, there's finally it's not really an update. It's an article and some coverage from KTVB7 on Michael Monkey Vaughan. And I'm going to play their video clip here from the station, and then I'm going to go through the article because there's some really interesting stuff in here.
Michael Vaughan went missing in the summer of 2021.
The case heated up late last year with police digging up a home close to the Vaughans and naming people they believe are involved in Michael's abduction. But we still don't know where the little boy is.
There's a hole.
July 27th, 2021.
But we keep moving on every day, and we don't give up.
The day the world stopped turning for one Idaho family.
I always write every day what day it is. And it says, be strong, be brave, be fearless. You are never alone.
The day a little sister couldn't play with her big brother.
She picks up his pictures. I leave this one here. She'll walk up and she'll start talking to him. And she'll get sad and she says, I miss Monkey. I miss him too.
A day forever imprinted on the memories of everyone who lives in the family's small, close-knit community of Fruitland, Idaho.
5-year-old Michael Vaughan went missing from this neighborhood behind me.
The search for Michael Vaughan continues.
We just want our monkey home.
Fruitland police say then 5-year-old Michael Vaughan disappeared between 6:40 and 7 p.m. on July 27th, 2021. His family says he was last seen down the road from where they live on Southwest 9th Street in Fruitland, and he spoke to multiple neighbors.
Every minute counts in these investigations when searching for a missing child.
By fall, police said Michael was likely abducted.
I want to hear him say, I love you, Mom. It was the last thing I got to hear. That was the last thing he said to you.
I told him I'd be home to tuck him in.
Multiple agencies, from Fruitland Police and Idaho State Police to Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, scoured the area, searching for Michael on the ground, in the water, from the sky. People from all around the Treasure Valley also helped search for the little blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy, lovingly nicknamed Monkey.
Michael's still missing. He's not home, and we don't have answers. So we keep going.
I believe it's 545 when they wrote this, so I want to get the number right. So I'm going to edit afterwards and add that number in because I believe it's like 550 at this point. Okay. Fruitland, Idaho. Brandy Neal, the mother of missing Fruitland boy Michael Vaughan, sat in her living room on a cold January day, wiping tears from her face. Neal moves to make another attempt like she's done so many times before, pleading for the return of her 6-year-old blonde, blue-eyed son she calls Monkey. Please keep sharing his beautiful smile, beautiful face. He's out there somewhere and we need him home. Don't forget about him, Neal said. And we are not forgetting about him, Brandy. Never. A week before, Neal picked up on the first ring to schedule an interview in order to keep Michael's face in the news. Things have gone quiet in the last few months. How are you? I'm upright. On that day in January, when Neal sat before the cameras, she sat next to Michael's monster trucks, his pictures, and his stuffed animals. A blanket with his face rested beside her on the couch. Occasionally, Neal would glance at his toys when speaking about her son, her eyes welling with tears. It's been over 500 days, she said, since her family has seen Michael. It's been over 500 days, she said, since her family has seen Michael. He went missing from his neighborhood in Fruitland, near Southwest 9th Street, on July 27th, 2021. Neal counts every day that passes by. Neal just wants to hear Michael say, "I love you, Mama," one more time. It was the last thing she heard him say to her, she said between quiet sobs. Neal talks as she plays with her bracelets nervously, which have Michael's name printed on them. Someone still knows what happened that day, she said. It's not fair, Neal said. You've watched us for the past 545 days, and you haven't said a damn word. We have to wait, and wait, and wait, and still take care of our family. It was like any other day in July when Michael was last seen. Neal previously told KTVB that her husband, Tyler Vaughan, was at home with her children. Michael was on the couch playing with his Nintendo Switch. Vaughan went to check on Michael's little sister, Aria, who they call Buggy, in her bedroom. Vaughan ordered a pizza and came back out to the living room. Michael was gone. Vaughan called Neal, who was at work. Neal sped home, and she saw police at the park when she pulled into the neighborhood. Neal said the neighbors witnessed Michael in his front yard and on the street in the moments before he disappeared, even attempting to talk to neighbors. He was friendly, she said, but it was unusual. He has wandered a few times, but it doesn't make sense, Neal said. That night and into the week ahead, searches ensued. The community began paving their way on foot through farm fields, through the streets, looking in bushes and storm drains, checking in trash cans, under tables, in park bathrooms, anywhere that a small child could hide. Michael was last seen wearing a blue Minecraft t-shirt, blue briefs, and blue flip-flops. He was 5 years old at the time of his disappearance. Fruitland Police, the National Guard, Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, and even other law enforcement agencies united to spread their resources across the rural town of Fruitland. It was originally believed that Michael wandered off, but in November 2021, Fruitland Police Chief J.D. Huff said during a press conference that there was an increased probability Michael was abducted because police made little headway in ground searches. Neal said they brought in canine dogs, which traced Michael's scent to the end of the road. I've walked every inch of this town, Neal said. I've literally worn my feet to the bone. The entire family was called in for a polygraph test, Neal said, during which police kept them all separated. Police showed the family a timeline of Michael's disappearance, which Neal said she couldn't even believe that they were able to put together. Right after the family took polygraphs, a large semi-truck was revealed with Michael's face on it to drive across the United States to create more tips to his potential whereabouts. Idaho State Police and the FBI eventually became involved. Every day since, Neal says she gets out of bed, she goes to work, she takes care of her family. But the grief and the struggle of missing Michael, mixed with her anger and frustration, intertwined with having to be a wife and a mother, can be too much. Holidays and birthdays have passed. Michael's 6th birthday was on June 24th, 2022. There isn't a second that goes by without Neil thinking of her son. I've just been a mess, Neil said. Fruitland police have briefings every day where they talk about Michael and the next steps, Huff said. He has previously told KTVB that his entire team is extremely emotionally invested in the case. Neil said it's clear that the police support their family and care about Michael just as much. She points to a stuffed monkey sitting on a shelf across the room. It's tied with a ribbon that the entire Fruitland Police Department signed. They've become family, she said. Fruitland police maintained their work was never over. Regardless of the little information they shared, the department continued to put out press releases. Huff continually told the press there was not much he could say. It's still an open investigation, he said, and releasing additional information could compromise the case and justice for Michael. Then, during a press conference in the summer of 2022, police dropped a small piece of information. They were back in the Fruitland area investigating. It came on a brisk day in mid-November of last year, a break in the case. Police arrived at the Vaughan family home that morning. Neil expected it was like any other visit the police pay the family, to check in with them. But when Neil saw the chief of police walk in the door, she said her stomach sank. They spoke calmly when they told her that an arrest had been made. Police said to stay inside the home, she said, and hunker down. Police told her they received a credible tip that Michael's remains could be in a backyard nearby, and they were going to excavate every single inch. Huff later told reporters on scene that they continue to search for Michael's remains, marking the very first time that the media learned that he may no longer be alive. A 2-minute drive from the family home, just diagonal across the farm field that was searched so many times, lived Sarah and Stacy Wandra. The couple's backyard was being torn apart. Multiple law enforcement agencies surrounded the home at 1102 Red Wing Street with shovels, human remains dogs, and heavy machinery that was digging in the dirt behind the home. The dirt was piled into a large truck where it was driven off-site for evaluation, police later said. Neil said she sat out in the street for hours, watching the truck go by with dirt, come back without it, and then leave again. She wanted so badly to just go over to the excavation site, Neil said, but she stopped herself. Sarah Wandra, 35, was arrested on November 11th, 2022, and charged with failure to report a death. Huff previously said their investigation found Sarah Wandra had knowledge of Michael's death and didn't say anything to law enforcement. Stacy Wandra, her husband, has not been charged in connection to the disappearance of Michael, but he remains in the Washington County Jail on firearms charges. That credible tip came from another person inside the home the Wandras lived in, Huff said. Neil said she never seen or met the Wandras. When the search was underway for Michael, she left flyers at their door. Sarah Wandra was later seen on TikTok videos in October 2021 in front of Michael's missing person flyer, which was hanging on a refrigerator door behind her. Sarah Wandra previously told Payette County Judge Brian Lee at her initial appearance hearing that she understood the charges against her, but that it's not correct. Wandra's parents lived directly around the corner, but when KTVB knocked on their door, they didn't answer. Days went by, and then crews stopped excavating. Police said they planned on searching inside the home after they were done digging. No stone went unturned, but the police packed up their shovels and gear and headed home. I would like to sit down and have a conversation with Sarah Wandra face to face, Neil said. There will be a time. Huff let out a breath when he approached the podium on December 1st, 2022, for a press conference. to announce the results of the excavation of the Wanderer's backyard. He nodded at the media, who were anxiously awaiting answers. Back at the Vaughan home, Neil was surrounded by her family. Huff announced that Michael's remains were not found in the yard, but he said something else that made listening ears perk up, that police believe Michael's remains were buried there, but later moved. Unexpectedly, police announced the identities of two more people thought to have firsthand knowledge in the abduction of Vaughan. Brandon Shirtliff, 30, believed to be somewhere in North Dakota, and Adrian Lucene, 32, believed to be somewhere in Toledo, Ohio, or California. Shirtliff and Lucene were living in the Wanderer's home at the time of Michael's disappearance. The window of time for cooperation is coming to a close, Huff said. Shirtliff has a warrant for his arrest in Canyon County, but the charges do not allow for extradition from North Dakota. Lucene has a lengthy criminal record in multiple states. Huff also announced that their department has made contact with the two men, but didn't elaborate further. However, Huff believes these aren't the only people who have knowledge of what could have happened to Michael. All those who have knowledge of Michael's disappearance and have failed to report or hindered our investigation will be pursued, Huff said. KTVB reached out to Lucene and Shirtliff but never received a response. One phone number listed for Lucene seems to have been disconnected. More than a month later, on January 26th, Fruitland Police provided a slight update on their Facebook page. They wrote police, quote, recovered several pieces of evidence, unquote, at the Wanderer's home. Some of those pieces have been sent to a private DNA lab for further analysis. That process will take time, and we are patiently waiting for results, the Post said. Sarah Wanderer was found mentally unfit to proceed last year. She was committed to State Hospital South in Blackfoot on December 6, 2022. The commitment order indicates she was found unfit to assist in her own defense. Proceedings were placed on hold. Sarah Wanderer's public defender asked for more time in the state hospital in a January hearing. Her 90-day commitment period ends February 6, prompting a status hearing that day and then a preliminary hearing on February 7th. Where is Shirtliff? According to his mother, Tina Morrell, he is in North Dakota, and she knows his location. Morrell told KTVB via Facebook that her son is not running and has nothing to hide. We have all been cooperating, but this outright turned into total harassment of Brandon in our family. It used to be innocent until proven guilty. Now it's guilty without proof. They are even pointing fingers at me and telling me I'm lying and hiding something, she said. She claims she opened her home up to the police when they came knocking. I gave them food and water, prayed with them, and allowed them to run their dogs and people through my house and yard. They did find my toilet was leaking, which I'm grateful for, she said. She claims their cadaver dog, quote, smelled the poop outside near her vent and crawl space, which was near her leaking toilet, she said. That's weird. Public Relations Director Mark Sullivan works for the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, a team that has been very active in the search for Michael. Sullivan consulted with canine experts on his team who told him that no cadaver dogs do not alert on human feces. Sullivan said he's never heard of a canine dog being trained to find feces. Each dog has a very specific reaction that it does when it does what it's trained to do, he said via text message. The untrained human may not know or recognize when a dog alerts its handler. They came back with 17 cars, dogs, and shovels, and dug where the dog alluded to the following day. They found nothing but my leaking toilet, the mother wrote. We have cooperated fully since this all began. Our attorney will probably be calling a press conference for all this slander. I got some comments on that when we're done here. KTVB asked why Shirtlip hadn't come back to Idaho. Morales said his attorney is handling it. Okay. I know my son's heart. He loves kids, animals, the elderly. He has such a tender heart. He's always giving all of what he has. He would give his last morsel of food or his only shirt. He just always seems to choose the wrong side of people to be friends with, Morales wrote. Huff said he could not elaborate on Morales' comments due to the nature of the investigation. KTVB went to Morales' home in Kuna to speak with her further, but she did not answer her door. Police said in the December press conference, they had searched a home in Kuna without a warrant but did not elaborate. Law enforcement does not need a warrant if the homeowner lets them inside willingly. Okay, briefly here, you know, she's a mother and she should understand that if her own little son, her child, was missing, as Michael is, that law enforcement and everyone that is supporting the family is going to do any and every single thing that they possibly can to bring Michael home. So by her stating that she doesn't understand why they're going after her family when her son is a person of interest or / witness, I find that hard to believe. And I think that she's got to be smarter than that. And you're going to protect your child, but he's not a kid. He's an adult, and she needs to go to him and ask him, "What do you know?" And you need to do the right thing. But it doesn't look like she's going to do that, unfortunately. And it sounds like they hit on some potential DNA or evidence at her home. It's not poop, honey. It's not poop. Not poop from your toilet. That is called DNA and potential remnants of remains. Michael's case is different. Angeline Hartman, the Director of Communications for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC, said their team has worked diligently with the Vaughan family and law enforcement since Michael was reported missing. We try to give the family space, Hartman said, but it's really about letting them know we are here for them if they need anything. Hartman said, in her experience, this case is different. Our goal is no matter what the prediction in any case, we want to know we are here to support the families in any way. You just never know how a case is going to turn out, she said. Hartman said she feels for Neil and her family. It has to be torture, she said. In any missing case, NCMEC encouraged his families to continue speaking out and keeping the missing child in the public eye, Hartman said. It's important that the media attention continues. How is it possible nobody saw what happened to Michael? Hartman said it only takes a second. She stated that in most cases, the child is recovered, whether it be quick or takes some significant time. More than 90% of missing children are found, she said. If a child is not found in the first 48 hours, it's important to keep looking. For years, there was a misconception that something bad happened if they weren't found in a certain amount of time. It may or may not be the case here, Hartman said. Stranger abductions are extremely rare, and what happened to Michael is also rare, Hartman said. Every minute counts, she said, and missing children cases need to be taken seriously. Amen, sister. When it does happen, it's shocking. People think it happens a lot more than it really does, she said. When NCMEC learned police were searching for Michael's remains, they were devastated, she said. I think it was silent for most of the day, Hartman said. We are all heartbroken. And I echo that sentiment. When I first heard that that was a possibility, I was pretty emotional myself. It breaks my heart. It truly, truly does as well. The impact on the small town could be taxing for the rural area of Fruitland, but Hartman said the vigor of the community really speaks to the support and care surrounding Michael and his family. These communities band together. It's really something to see. Everyone has embraced this family, Hartman said. Fruitland Chief of Police J.D. Huff maintained that the department's interests are solely to find justice for Michael. Huff declined an interview, but said he still wants to be transparent and that there will be a time for that. For now, he said, he just wants to maintain integrity of the case. Waiting for answers. Neil keeps Michael's bed the same. It's next to his parents' bed, lined with his toys, blankets, and stuffed animals. For a while, Neil said she could barely do laundry. She would see one of Michael's shirts or socks and break down. She held up a small shoe. The police have the other one, she said. Neil stated police also have some of his favorite clothes and his favorite blanket for DNA, she said, putting his shoe back in the closet. Neil walks back into the living room and points to a table with pictures of Michael resting on top. She says Aria, known as Buggy, will pull the pictures off the table and speak to Michael, her older brother. She'll get sad, Neil said. She will say, I miss Monkey. Neil says she sees so much of Michael in Aria, and all of her questions about the world and her vibrant, energetic personality mirror her brother, Neil said. Neil brings out a gift bag filled with newspaper clippings, letters, and mail. Each one she saved, she said. Letters from all over the United States and even the world are addressed to the Vaughan family. Neil opens a small stuffed animal named Kiwi. It's from New Zealand, she said, for Michael when he comes home. That's so hard. I have only seen some video of Buggy in the background and heard little Buggy's voice, and some of Brandy's interviews are coming up on panels. And she does make me think of Michael, just from what we've seen of little Michael. And man, this is a tough one, and I continually say that Brandy has the strength like nobody else. I can't imagine. She's like Wonder Woman, like triple doubled. I don't know. I mean, it's the amount of strength and physically, mentally, emotionally, every single bit that Brandy has to get up every single day, to get up out of bed and to take care of her other three children, to take care of herself, because that's very important that she does that, take care of her husband, Tyler, and to continue to keep strong and continue to look for little Monkey. It's and she was working. I don't believe she's working right now, but she was working, and that was hard for me to fathom how she did that. But it I hate to say boggles, but that's the word that comes to mind. It's just, to me, it's such a big thing that that she's such a strong woman, and I wish all the time that I could hug her from here in Florida. I send virtual hugs to her and that family every single time I think of Michael and them. Every single time. And I think of Michael pretty much daily. He's always got a special place in my heart, and I don't even know this little guy. I've said that before. I don't know him. I don't know this family, but I feel like we've kind of come to know them. And I do want to say to Brandy that you have such a large extended family at this point. You've got people all over the world who just constantly think of you and think of the family, every single one of you. And all we want to do is send love and prayers, and it's just, and of course nothing seems like it's enough. And it's just hard to, like I said, it's hard for me to fathom, how she gets through every day. I was just horrifically sick, and I remember last Saturday, like 6 days ago, I I was practically laying in bed, and I'm in horrible, you know, sickness, upset, pain. It's like an exhaustion that's hard to describe. And the first thing I thought after a certain point was, I want my mom. And I don't think that ever ends. And that made me more sad as I felt better to think that's all that Monkey wants right now. That's all that he's ever wanted since the moment someone took him away from his family. I want my mom. I want my dad. I want my sisters. I want my brother. And some horrible person or persons had the gall to take him away from his loving family. And that thought makes me mad. He's a little child, now 6 years old. He was 5 years old. And what gives anyone the right to take away someone else's baby? I mean, that alone gets me from upset to angry, because these are the people that took him, and they have answers to what happened with Michael, and they're not telling anybody, and it's wrong. It's just wrong. And as much as I want, and I still retain a hope, I still do. I really, really do. I still hope that somehow the police is wrong. The police are wrong. That those were not remains of Monkey. I really still hope that, because until he's found, one way or another, there's always, always, always hope. Okay? There's always hope. And as a community, right now, regardless of whether you're in Fruitland, Idaho, Florida, where I am, you're across a pond, or whatever they call that. So wherever you are, we need to do the one thing continually that Brandy has always asked, is to keep Monkey's face out there, and to keep his story being told. Keep telling his story. Like I said, I think about him all the time, and I'm going to do as much as I can from my little corner of the world, which is to do videos like this, and to continue to share his beautiful, beautiful face, and hope that a handful of people who've never heard of Michael, who need to hear about him and to help find him, maybe they'll see this video shared somewhere. Maybe they'll find it on a YouTube search for little Michael Monkey Vaughan. Maybe they'll find it on Twitter. I don't know, or they'll find someone else that shares a poster. It's not about me or any of us. It's about continuing to share his story, his face, every single bit about him, and whatever it takes to bring Monkey home. That's it. That's the bottom line. So I continue, like I said, we're going to continue to pray. We're going to continue to advocate for this little guy. We are Monkey's army. We are Monkey's army, and it doesn't end whenever he's brought home. We're Monkey's army through every single bit of this. All right, guys. I know I probably rambled a bit on this one. He's always been, though, Michael has always, always, always been, and he will always be. He's got a special place in my heart. He truly does. And how can you look at that little face? How can you look at that beautiful little face and that smile and not fall in love with everything that little Michael Monkey Vaughan is? All right, guys, please go hug your families tonight or today, whenever you're watching this video. And with that said, I hope you have a great rest of the day. And please, please, please like this video, share this video, because the algorithm on YouTube is if nobody shares and nobody watches and nobody likes and all that sort of stuff, it disappears into the YouTube algorithm. So if you could like it, share it, comment, anything you can do. And if you haven't subscribed, it's free. And I have a whole Michael Vaughan playlist. I'm going to include the link in the video information. I always say show. I don't know why I say that. But I'm going to include that. And I'm hopefully going to start doing interviews soon. Since I've been sick, that kind of derailed that a bit. I'm actually going to reach out to see if Brandy would like to speak to me some point soon when she's feeling up to it. But in the meanwhile, please, please, please keep this boy's face out there. All right, guys, have a great one. And most of all, stay safe.